Welcome back, beautiful souls, to another season of Find Your Lady Tribe. My name is Brenda Ridgely, your host. You know, there's a certain kind of magic that happens when women of a certain age come together. We've weathered some storms, discovered our strengths, and are ready to tap into the wisdom we've accumulated to create our next big thing. This season, we're diving deep into the wellspring of longevity. We'll explore how to nurture our minds, bodies, and spirits so we can not only live longer, but live vibrantly. Whether you're dreaming of traveling, starting a creative pursuit, building an empire, or even saving the world. Yep, that's right, saving the world. This season is your guide to building the foundation for a life filled with purpose, joy, and an unstoppable sense of self. So grab your cup of tea, settle in, and get ready to be inspired. But before we get started, I want to remind you to subscribe. Give us a thumbs up if you're enjoying the show, and share it with your fellow midlife goddesses. Together, let's create a wave of empowered women who are redefining what it means to age gracefully, powerfully, and with a whole lot of Lady Tribe spirit. Welcome, my friends, to Find Your Lady Tribe, a place to connect to your passions, purpose, and people. This season is all about longevity, and I've had the opportunity to speak to some amazing experts on things like brain health, hormones, menopause, body image, diet, exercise, and so much more. Today, I am super excited to have a conversation with Bernette Sherman, who in the last 3 months of 2023 dropped an incredible yet healthy 30 pounds. Bernette is a creative empath, author on several multi-genre books, a playwright, and intuitive. She is about that shero life and seeks to create and share an epic life with more wellness and love. Thank you so much for being here, Bernette.
Thank you, Brenda, for having me. I'm excited.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you. I just have to, my first question to you, in our conversations leading up to this, you shared that you came to a decision point back in September of last year that has changed really through the trajectory of your life. Will you share with us what events led up to that decision?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just want to tie this back to, if you know anything about what they call the hero's journey, I'll call it the Shearers Journey. There's always, you're going through ordinary life and then something happens, and that's that call to adventure. And for me, it was in August. I had a lot going on. I'm a writer, and I was actually promoting the book in Red. I did a couple of events. And at the very end of the month, I was at one where I was giving a talk on world building. And in preparation, I really had to go back and think about what I did so I could explain it to someone else.
Mhm.
And I thought about those different journeys that she was going through in her own story. And then someone asked me if I liked going to the gym, and I said no, just flat out. Like, it was literally that same weekend. I was like, oh, I don't like going to the gym. But within that same week, about a week of time had passed, maybe before, and I discovered this lump in my breast. And I was like, huh, what's that? And it was one of those things where I'm not, religious about checking anything, but I was laying down and it came on me. I'm an intuitive. Check it. I did, and there was something there. And I said, okay. And I'd already had the situation with fibroids that were causing discomfort again. And, the doctor said my uterus was like a 4-month pregnant uterus. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to take care of these things. And if I'm going to take care of these things, it's going to take a toll. How am I going to be ready for that?
Yeah.
How am I going to take care of my body? I have to get my body ready to deal with whatever's coming. That was my call to adventure, was saying, oh, now I didn't know exactly what was going to happen. I just knew that I needed to be around for the long haul. I've got a 12-year-old at that point. He was 11, I have an 11-year-old and a 21-year-old. And I was like, I've got things to do in this life. I plan on being around a long time. I have to take care of this body. It's the only one I have. So on September 10th, I said, okay, I'm gonna start walking. That's really like all I said. And I got on the treadmill. I snapped a couple pictures just so I could mark the date. My husband had joined the gym like a month before, and I hadn't gone, even though he had like free buddy pass, because I didn't like going to the gym. So
I hear you.
right. And that was the reality that I didn't. But I went with him like that Monday. And I was like, okay. And I signed up for a training session. And next thing I know, I'm there 5 days a week and committed. I took it seriously like a job. And I took the nutrition part seriously. Because one of the things I learned was, yes, you can work out all the time, but if you don't do the nutrition part, you're not going to get the results long term that are sustainable. And for me, I needed sustainable long-term health. And I want my
Absolutely.
body to be healthy.
Absolutely. And I want to hear certainly more details of like something had to spark in you to say all of a sudden some person who doesn't like going to the gym was committed like that. So I want to go there, but before I do, I want to kind of roll back a few years. And we talked about this a little earlier ourselves too, is kind of when we became moms. Sometimes we put ourselves on the back burner. And this is probably part of that story too. How did you get there to this point where you had to make, where you felt like for your health, you had to make this change?
Yeah. Those years leading up to now, but I would say in the past, since 2020, about 4 years ago, this little thing happened around the world.
Right.
And and that took me for a spin. I mean, I'm not the only one. At that point, had just, had a great 2019, and I had all these ideas about the things I was going to do in 2020. And I promise you, in the first month of COVID, I put 9 pounds on. I was like,
Oh yeah, right there with you.
I said, what in the world? But it wouldn't go away.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, this is not cool at all. But the problem is it just kept going. And it was like the stress, eating feelings. And a lot of things were happening in my household, the stress and illness in my family, which took a toll for an entire year. And I didn't realize, I'm trying to hold it all together as mom and wife and making sure everyone else stays kind of as good as possible.
As normal as possible.
Yeah.
Right.
And I realized that like I'm eating more than I should. I'm not exercising. I took my own stress out and I wrote a book. I literally dissociated. This book is the product of that dissociation. I created a whole world where I had some control over what was happening.
Wow. Yes.
You
Yeah,
know?
I definitely want to talk more about that. That's so, it was great that you had that creative outlet, and it's so interesting that you made it about controlling that universe. And
Yeah, I was like, well, I didn't realize at the time that that's what I was doing. It was literally only after I came through this past 3, 4 months, and I looked back and I was like, oh, that's what that was about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's fast forward back to, okay, now all of a sudden you are in the zone and you're like committed. So what, if there was anything like that flipped the switch for you, what was it? And, what was your plan of action as you went on this new, health journey?
So I'm a Capricorn and I'm stubborn. So like if I say I'm not going to do something, I'm not going to do it. Period. But if I say I'm going to do something and I put it in my mind, I'm going to do it, then I will do it. But I had a strong reason. I knew I needed to be healthy. I mean, I've tried diets before. What woman has not tried diets before and they don't go anywhere. You don't have the success. You do it for 2 or 3 weeks and then you're back to normal. But this was different because I promised myself every single morning, I would say, okay, you're doing this for you. I would wake up, you're going to work. This is for you. You're going to show up for yourself. And then I could see changes because I was very committed to the nutrition part and the physical fitness part. And I kept saying, I'm going to show up. I'm showing up for work. I'm showing up for work. And I decided at that point, I was like, when was the last time I did that for me?
But you'd made a decision, and I get that. I totally get that. When in your brain you've said, this is happening, and that became your drive and your motivation because you said it will be, and it will be.
It will be. And I saw the pictures I took on that September 10th, and I saw how I looked in that picture, and it was almost like I didn't realize that I looked like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad. It was just, I knew what healthy was supposed to be for me.
Hey lady, just wanted to take a moment and interrupt right now in the middle of the show to ask you to subscribe. Yes, press that button right now. This show is all about you, the midlife woman. Let's do this thing together, so join us. Subscribe now. So you had a very healthy weight loss, basically. I mean, it was really quick if you think about it, but 2.5, 3 pounds a week is a very healthy way to lose it the right way. I mean, what was your strategy? And did you hit any, like, I mean, in 3 months, you had to hit a road bump or two, just going, oh, this is hard. Share that with us.
So it's interesting. I knew going in that I was going to lose I told my trainer, I said, I'm losing 30 pounds by the end of the year. She said, well, most people might lose 15. And like I told you, if I say I just ignored her. I just nodded, not politely. So I was like, I'm losing 30 pounds by the end of the year. That was what I said. So my strategy was, one, I tracked and I tracked and tracked. It worked for me. When we went to Turkey, yeah, I gained weight, you know.
Well,
I mean,
you gotta live though, too, right?
Right,
You gotta enjoy
live.
it. I mean, the moment that now is the only moment we have, really. So when that's there, you have to
enjoy it. And I was like,
enjoy it.
I am not going to Turkey and not enjoy the Turkish food and the cuisine. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna enjoy it.
Oh, I thought you meant the Thanksgiving turkey.
Oh, no. There was also Thanksgiving. Yeah, I gained like 4 or 5 pounds. But I knew how to lose those pounds. I knew what my body liked to eat. I knew, so I knew how to do that. But I realized I still had the tools.
Yeah.
And I still had the motivation because I hadn't reached my goal. I was close, but I hadn't reached it. But I did. I returned to the gym and it's like, this is great.
Yeah, great. So will you share with us a little bit beyond working out, lifting? I don't want you to share your whole diet, but was it, paleo? Was it, what?
So I do. So when I was on when I did my 3 months of shedding all that weight, I used macros. Now, if you're this is important, and I am not a dietitian. So this is not a plan that I'm saying. I'm not giving you medical advice or any of that, just all the disclaimers based on my experience and what I did. I used macros. Those are macronutrients, proteins, carbohydrates, and fats. And you split those as percentages and you eat, like for me, I ate about 40% proteins, 30% fats, 30% carbs. Now, if you haven't worked out in a while and you're just starting your journey, if you can do it that way and consistently show up for yourself in that gym and eat good proteins, good fats, good carbs. And I shouldn't say good because I shouldn't say good because then that implies that there are some that are bad, but there are some that are going to serve your body better.
And there's good choices and bad choices, probably, right?
It's really a calorie deficit. It's calories in versus calories out. You can do it. Will you have muscle tone? Will your blood circulate through your body as you want to? You might not have the body composition you want or the health outcomes you want long term.
Right.
But you can. But there's also this thing of what's your body want and need. So I ate a lot of chicken breast, fish, poultry. I don't really eat red meat, so I didn't do that. But fish, poultry, those were my main go-tos. Cottage cheese, which is packed with protein. I had certain foods that were go-to snacks and meals, and I would prep them. I would do sometimes 5 meals at a time and put them in containers so that when I was ready to eat, I didn't go into the kitchen
hungry and without a plan.
Without a plan.
Right.
And I never got hungry. People, I mean, it's hard to believe, but like I did 3 months. What people said, were you on a diet? I was never hungry. I was constantly eating. It was to the point where when I first started, my husband would laugh at me because I couldn't finish meals. I was like, this is so much food. I can't eat it. I would like put it back put leftovers in the fridge. And then like the next meal, I'd be like, I've got them some of this and some of that, because I was choosing more nutrient dense foods. And so they were filling, they were packed with the macros and micronutrients, and I'm getting all this good stuff. So I finally had to break it up where I was eating like 5 or 6 times a day, just because I'm a slow eater to start with, which is actually a tip I would say. That's one of the biggest tips for controlling your intake is just slow down.
Yes. Yes. And be present with your food, right? Just be present with it.
Yeah. Be present. Enjoy it. Yes.
Hey, that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah. So I was like, yes, these are the things that keep you living for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. So now let's just kind of like shift a little bit our gears and tell us what the Shearers Journey is for those of us out there that don't really recognize what that is. And how do you relate your story of weight loss to it and what you're doing, going forward?
Oh, yes. So as you can tell, I'm a writer and I love writing strong female leads. So that's not all of my books, because I did write one about my great-great-great-grandfather, but most of them are strong female leads. And in most movies, books, stories, you're going to have a pretty common storyline where you're going to see the hero in her everyday life, just going about the normal day-to-day things. And that was me in August, right? First half of August, I was just being the writer me and the mom me, and then found a lump, and then went to the doctor about the lump and the fibroids, and was like, yeah, they're there. It's like, okay, something has to change. And that's that moment where you're having the it's not a crisis necessarily, it doesn't have to be a crisis, but something big happens where you can't stay in your comfort zone anymore. That ordinary life, you get a call to adventure happens. And a lot of times in movies and stuff, there's initial like, no, I'm not going to do it, whatever, refusal. For me, I think I'd done enough no's prior. Literally
warmed up to the idea a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, just 2 weeks before, I literally had said no to someone who was like, "Oh yeah, you come here and work out at my house. I have a gym." I'm like, I don't like the gym. But life changes quickly sometimes. And so, you get to that point where you're saying yes to that call to adventure. And then you have to get support around you. So in a movie, a mentor shows up, a helper shows up. You seek that guidance or that wise counsel, someone who knows more than you do in that moment about what you're trying to do. For me, I went to the gym and I got a trainer. She knew what I needed to know at that moment to help guide me. So you got that part, and then you start moving through the challenges. And for me, it was physical a lot. Like, you start working out after you haven't been doing it for a while, you feel it. Everything feels hard. I mean, and I felt sometimes like I'm in this gym and these people are so fit, and here I am, and I'm struggling to do this. I'm struggling to do that. I don't like the way my clothes fit. I'm trying to wear the baggy t-shirt. Like, it was, those are real struggles a lot of people have that keep them from going to the gym, unfortunately. But it's literally, you're going to the gym so you can get healthy and fit, and it's like this catch-22. But I dealt with that myself.
Yeah.
Just trying to be confident enough, knowing I'm there on purpose.
Yeah. And everybody has their own Shearers journey, really. Right.
Whatever it is for you. Everyone, probably, if you start thinking back. Oh, I remember when I said no 5 times and I finally said yes.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, and then I got help.
Yeah.
I found the guide, the mentor, the coach, someone who knew better than I did in that moment for where you were. Especially when you look at stories where they have to go through that intense training for battle. That's all the physical part, right? And they have to take control of their mind. That's part of it. And then they're always connecting with something. And I think of like Yoda or something. You go into that place where you're connected with that higher sense of yourself, whatever you want to call it. It's all body, mind, spirit.
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer in that, accepting a challenge of sorts, something that's uncomfortable, hard things, and just stepping up to the plate and saying yes to those hard things becomes just like this, opens the whole floodgates of other opportunities and great things that you did not expect from it. And you've mentioned several already. Yeah, it's just fantastic. And we wouldn't be here today if that didn't happen, right?
Right. It's amazing because you start opening up one thing and then other things can flow through. And a lot of times you might not even realize that you were blocked or why.
Stuck.
But yeah, but we're physical beings. And I had to remind myself that we are physical, and we have to get into our bodies.
Yeah. So Bernette, if you had to leave our listeners with 2 or 3 just encouraging, get started tips to make a big shift, a big physical change in their life, what you got for us?
So I would say there's three areas. There's the physical, so movement. Try to move more. I don't want to tell anyone move 30 minutes 3 times a week. If you can, great. But if you are moving 0, try 5.
Yeah.
Move for 5 minutes a day. If you're doing 30 minutes, try 5 more. So just try to move more and get into the habit of showing up for yourself consistently in your physical form. And then for nutrition, slow down. Slow down the speed at which you might eat your food. Slow down the speed of your decision to get food. So when you walk into the kitchen and it's instinct to open that refrigerator or to open the pantry, slow down. Take 5. Just say, you know what? Look at your clock, look at your phone. What time is it? I'm going to walk away. I'm going to do something. I'm going to read something. I'm going to go clean the bathroom. I don't know. Just take 5 minutes so that you separate yourself from that impulse and do something else. If you even remember 5 minutes later that you walked into the kitchen wanting something, then go back and get it.
Right?
But if you don't, then that means you weren't really hungry.
Right.
It was an impulse food moment, and we all have them. So just slow down. And then the third is, and then the last thing is mindfulness.
Mm,
Really just, again, 5. I love the power of 5. Just take 5 minutes
mm,
and be mindful between meals. How does your body feel? Really getting a sense of how your body feels when it's hungry, when you think it's hungry, when you're feeling satisfied. Like, what are those feelings like?
mhm,
And even, if you think you're getting hungry, it's fine, but take a moment, take 5 minutes and just feel what that feels like in your body so
mm.
that you start understanding what it feels like to be hungry.
Yeah, a lot of people don't really recognize that feeling anymore because there's not a fast in there anywhere.
Yeah. And feel that. And then when you're finished eating, feel that too.
Mm, mhm.
How's that feel? Are you satisfied? Are you overfull? Have you had enough? Before you go get that second helping, sit with yourself for 5 minutes. Don't just get up and go get another plate. Just sit there and feel your body. Enjoy conversation,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah.
Say,
Love your tips. I mean, move more, so add 5. Slow
mm-hmm,
down when it comes to food, so wait 5.
mm-hmm.
And then be mindful, so take 5. Love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
it's the power of 5. Yeah.
Power of 5.
And
It's
it's
so good.
simple. I mean, you don't have to do, I'm a proponent of keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it.
Mhm.
Life is complicated enough.
Yeah, awesome. So how do our listeners find you, Bernette? You've got a wealth of information, whether it be your coaching, your writing, all this great stuff.
So the easiest way is through my website, burnettesherman.com. And then I'm on Instagram and TikTok as I am Burnett, IAMBERNETTE. And of course, my link tree is also I am Burnett. And you can find all kinds of stuff or
Yeah,
just Google me.
I love it. I love it. And I will put all of Bernette's links in the show notes, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us on your favorite podcast service. We're so grateful you're here. My final question for Bernette is, how do you tribe?
Whew. This is an interesting question. I'm going to try to keep it short, but I'm a writer, so I don't keep things short. Um, I am going to try. So this has probably been the most difficult thing for me as an adult. When I was younger, I was in a relationship where I was pretty much isolated from other people. Um, and so I had one friend who I was able to hold on to, and then she moved away like in 2007. And I had a really hard time building new relationships. By that time, I was remarried, I had a child, I was working, and life was like, oh, okay, it's hard to meet people out there. And then when I left the traditional workforce, it was even harder because then I was an at-home mom with young ones, and my husband was an executive, and so he was very busy, and I was home. It's like I couldn't go out. There was no girls' nights out. There was none of that. And so it was really difficult to try. It was really difficult to connect. And so finally, now in the past few months, I have been making a real effort because I said, this is the next piece, right? Like I need friends who get me. And I know I'm a little different. So that's I was like, I need friends who get me because I'm not the ordinary person. I do things a little differently. And I'm meeting people. And I believe the universe is bringing people into my life right now who I'm like, yeah, this is cool. I met one person at the Black Writers Weekend. And I was talking about doing all this writer stuff in August of last year, who she was a power lifter and like the first Black female bobsledder in the in the world, I think, and definitely in the United States. And she was there because she's writing a book. We connected, and then I started lifting, and she followed my journey and stuff. And she said, hey, if you ever want to learn some stuff in powerlifting, I'm a world-class powerlifting person. And so I was like, yeah. And so we started like powerlifting, and then I started helping her with her book. And it was just like this cool synergy where I'm learning powerlifting from her. I'm helping her with her book and like the marketing communications, like all that other fun stuff. And we just like are great friends now, where we're gonna have, you know, lunch tomorrow and talk about like strategy. But it has to be very intentional, is what I find, is you can't wait. You have to reach out. And for a long time, and I still have to deal with this. This is one of my things I still have to deal with, is thinking, oh, they don't want to hang out with me, or, you know, maybe they didn't call me or invite me because they don't want to hang out with me. They don't like me. Like, but I was that rejected kid as a child, you know? And so I found myself like, or maybe they're just as busy as you are.
Right? Isn't that interesting? That's how all of our minds work, Bernette, and you're just a lovely example of that, because we've got these tapes playing and our ego rearing its ugly head and all these woulda, coulda, shoulda, and you know, what are they thinking? And they're most likely just right in the same boat as you and would appreciate that invitation. So I'm so grateful you shared your tribe journey and where you're at in it. And it's okay to be kind of at the beginning of it. It really is. You got to have recognized it and be starting down that path. Is just, I applaud you. And
It is. I'm excited. I'm like, I'm going to make friends this year. That's
absolutely. Well, I couldn't be just more grateful to have you in it and have gotten to know you. And we are definitely staying connected.
yes.
And I always wrap up my podcast with the final line in my book, Lady in the Tribe. And you're here and I'm here, and our guests who are listening, all part of this. When three or more gather, we are tribe. Thank you so much for being here, Burnett. And yeah,
Thank you, Brenda.
absolutely.
Thank you for having me. I've enjoyed this. I've had so much fun. Thank you.
Wonderful.